I thought it was terrible what he did. To write a letter? I mean, this isn't a class on literature. He shouldn't be talking that way in a letter. He could call and ask and suggest.
Trump had absolutely no problem bad-mouthing the Navy captain who was relieved of duty after he sounded the alarm regarding a COVID-19 outbreak on an aircraft carrier that he was in charge of. Now, multiple sailors who were on that ship have tested positive for COVID-19. And it turns out that Navy Captain Bret Crozier, who is the person that Trump was talking about in that clip, unfortunately also tested positive for COVID-19. In fact, the commander began exhibiting symptoms before he was removed from the warship, two of his classmates said. Crozier was fired following a leak to the San Francisco Chronicle of a letter he had emailed to Navy leaders that detailed the failures on the service's part to provide the necessary resources to swiftly move sailors off the carrier and disinfect areas on board as the virus spread through the ship. Now, his concerns were clearly legitimate, but the Trump administration must have been embarrassed by this letter after it was leaked to the San Francisco Chronicle. They were more concerned about their image as opposed to the well-being of sailors on that aircraft carrier. Now, what's also interesting is that the Navy secretary had some pretty strong words about Bret Crozier during a speech that he gave to these sailors. We're going to give you two different snippets of that speech so you get a sense of what he had to say about Crozier, but pay particular attention to how the sailors responded or reacted to what the Navy secretary had to say here.
Immediately it was picked up by the San Francisco Chronicle, which published sensitive information about the material condition of a naval warship. If he didn't think, it was my opinion, that if he didn't think that information was going to get out into the public in this information age that we live in, then he was A, too naive or too stupid to be the commanding officer of a ship like this.
What the?
The alternate is that he did it on purpose. And that's a serious violation of the Uniform Code of Military Justice, which you are all familiar with. That message and all the contents in that message was perfectly fine for him to send to people in his chain of command in a confidential way so they could get acting on it.
The reaction from sailors was pretty incredible. And if you can recall, when Crozier was taken off the aircraft carrier, the sailors were chanting his name. It was clear that they had a lot of affection for him.
Yeah. So first of all, throughout the weekend, every once in a while, I'd start chanting, Captain Crozier, Captain Crozier. That was one of my favorite videos of all time. It's the end of Dead Poets Society. Oh, Captain, my Captain. Literal, right? So now, in this case, you see one of the sailors with an F-bomb as the Navy secretary is talking to them about their captain, and they don't want to hear any of that. They love their captain because he was trying to protect their lives. I read the letter that Captain Crozier wrote, and first thing is, he made such a devastating point about the situation on the ship, and that's why they're embarrassed. And I'll get to who's at fault in a second. But he said the only study that's ever been done on an enclosed ship is on the Diamond Princess cruise ship that had a lot of the coronavirus outbreak on it. And they explained that they did mitigation on the ship. If they had done immediate mitigation, only 79 people would have gotten sick out of thousands and thousands. But because they couldn't do that, they did do some mitigation because they have individual rooms on the ship. And so they sequestered in that way. And still, 17% of the ship got coronavirus. But the most important part of the study was, if they did not do that mitigation, 79% of the people on the ship would have gotten coronavirus. And Captain Crozier explained, guys, in our case, we don't have individual compartments. We all live together. We go to the same restrooms. We have the same cooking this food for everybody. This is the worst case scenario. If we do not do something, we're likely to have 79% of these sailors get coronavirus, and a lot of them die. And he said, if it was in wartime, we'll do what we need to do. We'll obviously carry on sick, etc. But we're not at wartime. So why are we going to lose sailors for no reason at all? Which leads me to who got pissed. It was either the person right above him, all the way up to the Navy secretary in the chain of command, who was like, I already told you no, have your sailors die. Why are you going above my head? That's possibility number one. That's why on the first day, I wasn't sure that it was Trump who did it. Of course, the second possibility is that it's Trump because it embarrassed him politically. But now we likely have our answer, because when Trump comes out and says, it was a terrible thing he did, terrible. And he says, I didn't make the decision, but I support it. 9 out of 10 times that means he made the decision. When he says, I didn't make the decision, that means almost certainly he did, and he thinks that there's going to be political blowback from it. And now he has all of his thugs online trying to, talk down Captain Crozier as if he's some sort of villain, which is insanity. I don't know how many lives he saved on that ship, but that's why his sailors love him, and he did exactly what a captain's supposed to do.
So Thomas Mowgli, who's the Navy secretary, in that clip that we just had you all listen to, basically said that Crozier is either naive or stupid if he thought that that letter wouldn't eventually get leaked. And I just thought that was a fascinating thing to say, because keep in mind that Mowgli made these statements to these sailors without intending for these statements to be made public in any way. And so is he naive or is he stupid in bad mouthing the Navy captain who just wanted to save people's lives and ensure that the sailors were safe, ensure that they don't end up dying from an incredibly lethal virus that, by the way, has already claimed the lives of over 10,000 Americans. So Crozier it might have embarrassed people up the chain of command. It might have embarrassed Trump. But I really do think it's the right thing to do if you think that's your final option, your only option to get something done to protect these sailors. But at the same time, I mean, you have Mowgli, calling Crozier stupid. What do you think he's stupid for? Because he, did a cost benefit analysis and understood that maybe embarrassing people means less than protecting the lives of our sailors.
100%. And by the way, it looks like now, coincidentally, one of the lives he saved might have been his own. So maybe the best thing they could have done for him is take him off that ship. But when we have a real president back in charge, give him the ship back.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.